It's called a promo, kid.
Shut your
And
mouth,
if you want to
John.
be the big dog, you're going to have to learn how to do it. So go ahead.
You ready?
Go ahead and get this out the way.
No!
Vince like
I
messed up.
said, are you ready?
That was good. Glad you finally decided to pull that giant stick out of your butt and have some fun for once in your life.
You're uneducated marks! You sit there on your phones tweeting out your opinions like they're worth a damn. Let me explain something to you people. You don't know shit!
And I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's dead.
The CCW audience here again moving both competitors. I think the entire relaunch of ECW was doomed from the start. That's it! He's got himself disqualified because it's not Extreme Rules.
Man, I'm having so much fun today.
And it was a horrible workplace. I was just, dude, I don't want to be in wrestling anymore. I'm so over pro wrestling right now.
Oh, not the zombie.
My mistake was taking on the project to begin with. I remember talking to Tommy Dreamer and telling him up front, I want to let you know that within 1 year, this is going to be an absolute nightmare, and it's going to collapse on our heads.
That's so sad. That's so sad. Man. Premise of the episode today, WWE killing ECW.
Oh, God.
Fucking.
Where do we even start?
Well, where we start at is, let's see. Here, we actually have a little bit of help today, and I'll go ahead and get to it just so we can kind of have our little bit of segue. Because thanks to Tony Pizza Guy, we got the full recap on how WWE killed off ECW. Essentially, taking RVD's idea post One Night Stand. Actually, no, One Night Stand was RVD's idea.
Yes.
They took RVD's idea of One Night Stand and it being a success into let's take ECW and turn it into a television program, which originally, when the idea was pitched, it was supposed to just be Shane McMahon and Paul Heyman having like an internet segment on WWE.com. It's supposed to be internet-based only because a lot of those hardcore fans at that time were watching more shit on the internet than anything else, especially with a lot of shit coming from Japan.
Ooh.
So that was like the pitch, but they saw it, Vince McMahon saw it as like a money type deal, and as we'll eventually get throughout this video, find out that he really saw it more as a developmental place, and a lot of good superstars came out of there. But you also look at the early days of ECW, them introducing, like I said, the zombie.
Let's go.
They took this like cult beauty product. The one time it felt cool to be in a cult was when you're an ECW fan. This is coming from us being ECW fans, and I think that's kind of why I wanted to pick this topic too, because I knew on the fly we could talk about this because it's kind of like how we started, and it's something that's both significant to us.
Yes,
so.
very much so.
They definitely fucked it. What did you say ECW should be called?
No championship wrestling.
Oh yeah, no CW, no championship.
No CW.
It's so fucking frustrating. Play 2008 where they first said featuring ECW on the SmackDown vs. Raw games. SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, and you play GM mode, the best fucking creation in wrestling games of all time. And you want to be ECW general manager, but you only have one championship, so you're like, okay, I'll just put on a bunch of hardcore matches because it's ECW, but then all your superstars get hurt because they can't handle that.
Yeah.
Man. And you only have one title. How can you have that many superstars on your roster and only have one person holding the title? Oh my God.
That's like basically having enough room for one, maybe two storylines at max.
Oh, come on, man. Okay. Back it up.
Back it up. And
special shout out to Tony Pizza Guy on YouTube. Without him, this episode wouldn't exist.
Well,
financial compensation will be made if necessary. Let's get into it.
Had a second chance at success when WWE started ECW as a new show. With Paul Heyman backing it and the hardcore fans wanting something different, this was sure to be a success. So what went wrong? WWE ECW.
Oh, a lot of shit went wrong, Tony.
Damn.
During the Monday Night Wars, there were two giants competing head-to-head, WWF and WCW. While this was going on, there was a revolution happening called ECW. They took the world by storm and had a huge hardcore fan base. When WCW was bought out by WWF, ECW closed around the same time.
Ugh.
Which passed for the cause one time. Sorry, Tony, to interrupt. But what a lot of people don't know, if you look into it a little bit more, is that Paul Heyman actually, despite belief, was on the WWE payroll
Long before.
Yeah, long
closed.
before ECW was closed, and he was doing so to fund the dying of ECW. Like, he knew ECW was going down the drain, so he had to get as much money as he could to financially compensate for the loss he was about to take. So yeah, Paul Heyman was actually on WWE payroll well before ECW was bought out.
Talent went to WWE, and the rest is history.
Ugh.
Since WWE owned the tape library for ECW, they decided to put out a
Fucking
retrospective
sucks.
of the company.
Yes.
The rise and fall of ECW.
Fucking grew up on that DVD. Grew up on that DVD. I've watched it 100 times over. I love that DVD. And again, ECW is just like my lifeblood. But
Oh, hell yeah.
I wanted to touch on that for like 5 seconds, that WWE owns all the rights to ECW footage and all the ECW trademark names and everything like that.
Ugh.
I didn't realize the severity of what that meant until I watched TNA's Hardcore Justice. I think it was 2011. I have it on DVD, but I'm not going to go check the collection right now to see what year it was. But I was watching this DVD, and all the ECW originals were coming back for this reunion, and they had to change their names, and they couldn't say this and that, and it was just so
Ugh,
frustrating.
Walking on eggshells like that is so terrible.
They had to, or they would get sued up their ass. Man.
This is one of the best-selling WWE DVDs of all time, and it even sparked an uprising.
Let's go.
Because this did so well, Rob Van Dam thought it would be a perfect time to do an
fucking show.
ECW reunion show.
As you
So,
should.
he pitched the idea to Vince McMahon, and he loved it. This one-night stand would go off perfectly, and the show was
It did go
fantastic.
hard. It did go
This
hard.
was supposed to be a one-off
Yeah.
show. However, Vince thought there was
All
still
they
money
had
in
to
the
do was fuck
ECW
it up.
brand. WWE would run another one-night stand pay-per-view the following year, but this time, things would be different.
All they had to do was wrestle badly. All they had to do was not be good at their jobs, and they said, no, we're going to do amazing. All they had to do was be bad, and this would not be a conversation. ECW would die with its legacy intact.
Wow.
WWE would use this opportunity to launch a third brand. They had Raw and SmackDown, but now ECW would be going live on Sci-Fi following the one-night pay-per-view. It wasn't as great as the first pay-per-view. However, they did have a terrific main event as John Cena would face
I
Rob Van
disagree. It
Dam.
was good in its own right.
RVD was the Money in the Bank holder and would cash
That's
in
fair.
to fight John Cena for the WWE Championship. Rob Van Dam would win it and become the new
Oh, fucking show.
WWE Champion.
Cena wins.
Paul
Right.
Heyman would come out and crown
Man.
RVD the new ECW Champion.
One of the best times
Now,
of my life.
Rob Van Dam was ECW and WWE Champion.
For us personally, this is
Amazing.
yeah, this is
Best
because
thing
this
ever.
was like the height of our childhood and watching wrestling. I remember when we linked up in middle school talking about this shit.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, Rob Van Dam
was... Still is my guy.
I'm saying, I was just about to say it. I was like, I'll let him say what I'm already gonna say. A whole fucking show.
Originally the new
Sad music.
ECW Champion.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally
Now,
rewinded it. But
Rob Van Dam was ECW and WWE Champion.
yes,
Good.
Originally, the new ECW would be run in different venues and have a completely different look. They had some original ECW stars from back
Look
in
at
the day,
Sandman.
but Paul Heyman knew that he had to introduce new talent. It was an hour-long show with a mix of old school and new school ECW stars. And this was entirely fine, and they did a good job with creating new stars. During the Rob Van Dam title reign, he and Sabu got pulled over in a car.
Fuck.
They were caught with pot in their car, and now they would get in trouble with WWE.
come on, man, pot in the car.
Therefore, WWE forced Rob Van Dam to relinquish the ECW and WWE Championship because of this mistake.
You're killing me.
WWE
Why?
decided to make Big Show the new ECW champion. and therefore Paul Heyman would then turn on RVD and become the new manager of Big Show.
Broke my heart. I had no idea at the time, obviously. We're in the 6th grade. We have no idea that that's going on.
No.
And we're just like, wow, Rob Van Dam lost the title that soon.
I remember finding out about it, like, I want to say, like, 4 or 5 years later.
Damn.
Because I wasn't... I was a kid, like you said. I was young, and I didn't know anything about the backstage workings and everything, so I was just like, damn.
Oh, you're saying you didn't find out about all the backstage shit?
Yeah, why he lost, why he actually had to lose the title.
I thought you meant, like, you just didn't know.
No, I knew, but I knew he had lost it, but I didn't know why until way later.
Understood. Yeah, that was, like, my favorite summer in wrestling ever. Ugh, I don't even get started on the summer of 2006.
This actually worked out perfectly because ECW fans were very vocal and hated the Big Show.
Yeah, we did.
This was about the best thing they had with this version of WWE ECW.
What they did right with that, though, what they did correctly with that, was that they really used the Big Show to bring people, big people into ECW. Because, they would have, like, every week... The Undertaker would come have an Extreme Rules match for the ECW title. Batista would come, and nobody would ever beat the Big Show. They were trying to build him up as the strongest champion. I always thought that was a cool aspect to it, and I could see how they were trying to like build ECW up with superstar recognition.
That makes sense.
Same time, ECW needed to have its already established originals and superstars. And build up the new talent. Like CM Punk literally was ready to be the face of ECW as soon as they brought him out. They're like, we like this guy.
Let's go. All in on CM Punk, but...
They give John Morrison the title first. Which is, I love John Morrison. Johnny Drip Drip.
Not exactly an ECW guy. Especially not at the time, I think.
Right. Same time. And I have all that on VHS tape. Shout out to the tape traders. I was one of them. Let's get back into this.
One of the final nail in the coffin was when ECW ran one of the lowest buy rate pay-per-views of all time, December to Dismember. This would have Bobby Lashley winning the ECW title in the main event. Paul ran one of the lowest buy rate pay-per-views of all time, December to Dismember.
It wasn't that bad. I loved it. The Hardys opened. There's an Extreme Elimination Chamber. Nobody's ever done that before. Nobody's done it since because they think it's bad. Quote unquote. I wish they did have video for this podcast, Ray, so you could see my disdain. I'm seething on this one.
See, I remember watching it and being like, I guess it was kind of like a mentality like, oh, they had to, Sabu wasn't in the chamber, stuff like that. That was what really got a lot of us.
And see, I'm not sure. I'd have to look this up, which I have time to look it up if we need to. But I really thought Sabu not being a part of it was something that had to do with something backstage. Or was it to do with that incident where he got pulled over with Rob Van Dam?
I don't know.
I don't think it was a thing of like...
Because Rob Van Dam was in the match too, right? But
no, yeah. RVD was in the match, correct. So that... Because that was just a 30-day thing, so that negates that theory.
Yeah.
I just want to defend the pay-per-view, but nobody seems to agree with me. And that's like the one take I have that nobody can seem to agree with. And I'm like, alright. And I don't think Bobby Lashley winning it was a bad move. Bobby Lashley was a great champion.
In hindsight, I think, definitely think different. Like, I recognize now, like, okay, that's fair. That's very fair.
RVD to win, of course,
But at the time, I think a lot of us saw Lashley as like, oh, he's this guy that just comes in and does all this.
He did some extreme shit, and remember the cage match with Umaga when he busted through the cage?
I'm now remembering. Well, shit.
No. He wasn't against Umaga. Umaga had showed up because they were building up to that WrestleMania match, and Lashley busted through the cage to fuck him up.
Yeah.
Which, post Lashley, ECW, that's where it gets really bad, and that's where I'm like, okay, we're gonna get into the fucking juicy shit.
Ugh.
But it was never, from the start, from WWE's start of like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna put our money into this and green light it.
Ugh.
It was always doomed to fail, just like Paul Heyman said.
Yeah.
This would have Bobby Lashley winning the ECW title in the main event.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman was fighting tooth and nail for all of his ideas and thought he knew what was best for the ECW brand.
However,
Vince just simply saw things differently.
Exactly.
Paul Heyman was eventually removed from his role,
No.
and ECW became just another third brand.
It's his
They stopped
child.
doing shows on their own and began touring with the regular WWE shows.
That's his child. How do you say, oh, you're a good parent and you've raised this child the best that we've ever seen, but it's our child now, so you're gonna need to get out of here.
I think that's very just indicative of Vince McMahon in general. That's
Vince
what he
McMahon
does
is
with
the fucking angry stepdad of
what he
wrestling.
does with like anyone that came in, had like ideas of their own, or had an established character, and he was like, no, you're now big beefcake Bronson or whatever.
Oh my goodness. And like Matt Hardy actually verified something similar to that on his podcast I recently had heard on an episode where he said, Vince was the type of guy that like he listens to all ideas, but if he can't understand it or get behind it, he scraps it all together. And that's shout out to The Broken Life of Matt Hardy, or The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. So sorry. That was one of my favorite podcasts, The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. That's what keeps me going and wanting to do this show.
That's fair.
But another ECW champion, which that's another thing we might get into if we can, is that Matt Hardy and a lot of other people won the ECW title when it no longer was considered a world title, and that embellished everything for me. Not considering Matt Hardy as a world champion until he won the TNA title. That's stupid. He won the ECW World Championship.
ECW eventually
Go
became
off.
a developmental show
Go off.
to feature talent from FCW. In time, WWE canceled ECW and began NXT.
Man, the game
WWE
show.
ECW got off the ground because a DVD had great sales and a reunion show launched a TV product. WWE ECW could have continued in the original format with the hardcore fans if WWE and Vince McMahon wanted that to happen. Once Paul Heyman was phased out, Vince saw no real money in the ECW brand. What Vince McMahon wanted all along was a development territory to bring up new talent for both Raw and SmackDown. ECW did launch the careers of CM Punk, Kofi Kingston, Jack Swagger, and Bobby Lashley.
Hey, and he likes
That's
his
all
hat.
Vince ever really
He
wanted
does
from
like-
WWE
well, not anymore,
ECW.
No.
He didn't care about the legacy of ECW or any of the original stars, unless they could make him a bunch of money.
Of course.
If Paul Heyman would have been in charge longer, we may have never seen NXT. But instead, ECW would be the Wednesday night show on the WWE Network.
Questionable. I mean,
That's a whole different topic. I don't necessarily agree with that take.
that's a theory for sure, and I don't know that it would have advanced that far. But again, as soon as you took Paul Heyman out and gave Vince McMahon full control, and then Vince McMahon made himself the ECW champion,
That was the real downfall. My God, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I've blocked that out of my head. It's kind of like a trauma
I'm just like, what?
coping mechanism.
Oh my goodness. Let's not, I mean, and this is the most uncensored episode we have. I love Through the Table because I can say shit like this. Another blemish they definitely had was when CM Punk won that ECW title at Vengeance 2006. We all know the truth of what happened, and that again, we've talked about this before. That was the segment that broke kayfabe for me for wrestling. The fact that Chris Benoit and CM Punk were supposed to wrestle for the ECW title. Chris Benoit looked to be the one to win the ECW title. It looked like that was who they're going to put the belt on. Vince McMahon's dead because he died in a limo explosion. You saw it. He's dead. I know he's dead. But then he wants to come on TV and tell me Chris Benoit's dead, and like now the fourth wall is completely shattered for me.
Oh,
I loved this period of wrestling, but now looking back on how much Vince McMahon had to do with shutting a lot of shit down, including killing off ECW. And like I said, it got to a point where other companies couldn't even mention it.
it's so terrible. It's like
Yeah.
it's a Vince McMahon thing to kill things but keep it hoarded so other people can't do anything with it.
To your point, they didn't bring back the TV title, the tag titles, nothing.
They didn't bring back
They
anything.
had strip poker. They did strip poker. I remember Extreme Strip Poker. That was an episode because Kelly and Extreme Expose were like the hottest thing on ECW past the fucking Boogeyman, which I think the Boogeyman was supposed to be a goof off character like the Zombie, but
He was, but
Boogeyman got over.
I don't.
You can't tell me the Boogeyman did not make fucking something out of nothing.
He did. And it's funny because he still appears every now and then, like on their social media or. But yeah, they just killed it, completely killed it. The zombie, like.
He didn't win the ECW title, but I'm sure they would have tried to put it on him.
Just the whole thing of trying to make money off of something that. I don't think you make money off of ECW. I just think that's the thing. ECW is a passion thing. It's not a business thing.
Correct my search. Let's see. I'm going to do a little search here.
You do some on-the-fly research while I talk more about how I remember
just want a list.
Oh, a list of champions, maybe?
Yeah, I'm looking at a list of champions, but I don't want all the ECW champions, which I guess I'm going to have to go through them anyway. Starting all the way back from NWA, Eastern Championship Wrestling, which I won't go through those. You please continue.
I remember Christian won it once.
Yeah, that's another one. That's another reason why I want to get to this list, because like, they negate that as a world title run.
It's so terrible. Like,
dude, here's a fun fact. This will take 5 seconds. I'm sorry. This blew my mind. Jimmy Snuka held the first Eastern Championship Wrestling world title. Okay,
wow.
We go down the list. Johnny Hotbody wins it. Jimmy Snuka wins it. Don Morocco wins it in 92. The Sandman won it from Don Morocco in 92.
What?
The Sandman beat Don Morocco in 92 for the ECW world title.
That's crazy.
Then lost it again to him in April. Tito Santana, Shane Douglas, which then we know Shane Douglas threw the belt down. Blah, blah, blah. Fuck. 95. Give me down this list, please. Dude, here we go. RVD, Big Show, Lashley, Mr. McMahon. This is where it dies. Bobby Lashley wins it back. Gets vacated.
Well,
vacated title goes to John Morrison, who, again, he was Johnny Nitro up until that point, and he reinvented himself as John Morrison to be the ECW champion, or like that was his reinvention. CM Punk finally beat him for it. Chavo Guerrero beat him for it. I forgot about that.
I forgot about Chavo.
Kane beat him for it at WrestleMania. I remember that. Mark Henry beat him for it.
I forgot about that.
Night of Champions. And then Matt Hardy wins it.
Okay, I'm starting to remember again.
It's 2008. Matt Hardy wins it. ECW's going all the way downhill. Jack Swagger wins it. Christian wins it off of him.
Remember that.
Tommy Dreamer wins it and finally becomes the ECW champion for the first time. But we consider that a world title run. It's, again, a lot of these people prior to him not considered that, but that was considered a world title for him. So, bias, yes.
Ugh.
Christian wins it from him. Here's my favorite. Last fucking champion before it was deactivated.
Ezekiel Jackson. I remember that off the top of my head, too.
Ezekiel Jackson was the last ECW champion.
I feel like that's in the same vein as having Nia Jax come back on the last day of having complete control of your company.
I remember him being Brian Kendrick's bodyguard at one point.
That was a thing. Holy crap.
The Brian Kendrick.
The Brian Kendrick.
Let's see. I want to, if I can find it, the last... Let's see. ECW title deactivated.
You remember Kevin Thorne?
Yes. And fucking Ariel, who was actually a really badass wrestler, and she had a really badass ladder match with Beth Phoenix in OVW before that.
Wow.
One of the first, I think it was the first women's ladder match, and nobody recognizes it, but it is on the Ladder Match 2 DVD if anybody ever wants to check it out. Hey, no ads. Hey, you got to pay to play with the ads.
Yeah. I told you I'd get one in.
You did. You said that, and you got one in. Oh, here we go. They don't pay me to play his music either.
That's fair.
I'm not playing music at all. This is 13 years ago. Give me a date. Can you give me a date?
Which one are you taking?
That's hilarious. That was a hilarious joke.
I would
He
like
rolled
to
his eyes.
proudly announce that in 3 weeks' time, ECW will be going off the air.
Fuck you.
My God.
I'd like to thank all of the technicians, cameramen, directors,
producers,
don't really give a shit.
everyone, certainly the superstars who made ECW the success that it truly was.
You don't believe that. You don't believe a word
I'd
you
also
say.
like to thank in advance everyone, especially all of you, who will be responsible for the success of bringing a new, innovative, never-before-seen program broadcast at the very same time here on Sci-Fi.
And it brought us Daniel Bryan for like a minute, but
Next evolution of the WWE.
God, did it
This will
suck.
be the next evolution of television history. Thank you very much.
NXT was born out of that, and it sucked, and it had to get deleted to become good again. Which again, that was a Triple H thing.
Yeah.
Did they take the title off of Ezekiel Jackson, or did they just completely just move on? They're like, he won it, and then just move on.
I can't remember. I feel like they just moved on. I block a lot of that out of my head.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it shows that it was deactivated the same day,
That's crazy. Like
February
that's a-
16th.
That's a very Vince McMahon thing to do. To take something that you consider a blemish and try and negate it by replacing it with something else.
Oh my goodness.
The same day, and hope that people just completely forget it happened.
Again, that first NXT brought us so many superstars. Wade Barrett, Daniel Bryan, Bray Wyatt, Husky Harris. I use
did.
Husky Harris in the game all the time. It's so funny. But, man. Let's fast forward a little bit. This is the last fucking ECW championship match.
I remember it very vividly too.
Oh, he's all limping.
Course of this match, perhaps injuring. Watch out!
No, he's fine.
Fuck him up, Christian.
No, he's fine.
Let's say injuring that left leg, but going after the leg of Ezekiel Jackson, and now connected.
He be going off.
Like Christian, but look out! No! Ezekiel through the table. 1, 2, 3. Champion.
Put him over, man.
He did.
Former Intercontinental Champion, too, Ezekiel Jackson.
Huh?
Ezekiel Jackson was the IC Champion. You didn't know that?
Yes,
He held the ECW and Intercontinental Championship.
There are no rules. William Regal took advantage of an opportunity.
I don't know if he knew that was the last time anyone would hold the ECW Championship. That ugly ass silver belt. Shut up, Josh Matthews. I talk now. That ugly ass silver belt, which actually wasn't all that bad in comparison. Just
No, I was okay with it. But damn, like, I remember watching that last show and being like, well, that happened.
I feel
I
like
will
I
now
blocked
erase
it
it
out
off
too. I blocked it out.
I can't, like, I remember a lot of people that came in through that once it was developmental, and I just wanted hardcore matches. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, and there was some good ones. And again, there's a lot of like cool people that passed through there. And like I said, Colin Delaney was a good Mikey Whipwreck throwback. I can't go without mentioning Colin Delaney.
That's fair. I feel like to sum it all up,
Yeah.
this is the first time you brought that up to me about it being like an internet thing.
Yeah.
Like, if they would have kept it like that, could you imagine it being like a special on a Peacock? I guess. I wish we'd still have the WWE Network.
Yeah, I know. I missed the network, but I definitely think they would have kept the footage and still did what they do now with having the full library, which in many senses I'm grateful for that because I can watch original ECW, and sometimes I do like to go back to the first days of the WWE ECW and watch some of the earlier shit, but man, does it just suck. It'll never not suck, and that's why I brought it up today because it pissed me off.
It's very upsetting. Fuck you, Vince McMahon.
Literally.
Just fuck you.
Literally, man. I don't understand how you do this. You take away the one good thing that we have. And out of ECW, a lot of cool shit happened, like CZW and shit like that, which I know I'm not allowed to really branch out into shit like that, but I guess in the end sense, as much as it sucked that it died out, it had a lot of good purpose. And one of the cool things was one of my first shows was a WWE ECW show. My first ticket, I have it in my little box, and I'll end with this. I have a little ticket, and I went to a Raw show, and it was Raw and ECW, because that's what they were doing, was they were moving ECW to different shows. I think it started on SmackDown, and then they moved it to with the Raw shows. So I guess all in all, not the worst thing, but fuck that. It was the worst thing. I changed my mind. It's the worst thing.
It's the worst thing ever.
I'm out of here.
I agree.
Flight after flight, hit me up in the morning. Wanna stay by my side.